The digital production Buzz at NAB is sponsored by Maxon.
And right now, we are talking with EditShare. We're talking with Squarebox Systems. We're looking at Quobite, and we're going to be talking with Maxime Jago. The Digital Production Buzz coverage of the 2018 NAB show starts now.
Live from the 2018 NAB show in Las Vegas. Media, technology, products, news. Connecting media professionals around the globe with the latest in technology. The NAB show Buzz starts now.
And welcome. This is the third day of the NAB show for 2018. This is the Digital Production Buzz. My name is Larry Jordan. And if you look around, you're going to see two things. One, we have video, which we only do once a day. And number two, we are not in our booth downstairs in the South Lower Hall. We're in the South Upper Hall in the Cinemaker booth. We're sharing some services with them to practice video streaming, give you a chance to see some new technology for mobile multicam switching. But when it comes to technology, we have to look back a bit farther than just the latest. We want to look at stuff that's been around for a while, and that means EditShare. And Andy Liebman is the CEO and co-founder of EditShare. Andy, it's always good to see you.
It's always great to be here.
So for people that may not be aware, tell me what EditShare is.
So EditShare is the maker of a complete collaborative production environment. So what that's all about is high performance, scalable, shared storage, media asset management to be able to know where your tremendous amount of storage is, what you have to log it, tag it, organize it, know if it's on LTO tapes in S3, AWS buckets, or on our high performance storage. Also, we do automated QC. It's a new product for us. We acquired a company a year ago, and it's called QScan.
Okay, now wait. I'm not going to have a chance to answer and ask any questions if you go into the entire speech. But I remember back when you and I first met, I think it was in London, probably about 10 years ago, and you had a booth set up there, and you were focusing just on collaborative editing. And since then, you've expanded out to a whole platform rather than just a single function. Why the emphasis on the entire platform?
Well, you know, we were always all about working as a group and, you know, to edit a project, right? But editing is a group effort. And today it involves so much content. It may involve archived content, and it may involve, 10-camera, multi-camera. There's just so much content that, you know, if you want to work collaboratively, well, you know, you tend to work in a big team with people who do specific tasks like logging. And we decided to provide the tools to make working as a group, as a big group, maybe as a group of 50 or 100 people, possible.
Now, are you doing all of your collaborative editing attached locally, or are we connecting people via the cloud?
So we make our own on-premise private cloud, and this is something that we came out with a couple of years ago, where you have this, most of your content is in your facility already, and we figured, why not open up the facility to the outside, to your workers on the outside, so that they can access that content. So we take all of your high quality, high resolution content, we make low resolution proxy files that you can stream outside of your facility. It means you can view all of your content in a web browser. It's our Airflow client. And also we have a full timeline editor called Flow Story. So you can take that same low resolution content and stream it out of your facility and do multi-layer timeline editing. And you can mix and match the low resolution streaming content with high resolution local content. So if you're out doing a story with some new material that you've just shot with your, with your iPhone or with your, Nikon camera or Sony camera, you can put that together with archival content that's back at home base, and then you can choose to deliver the final result in either place. You can push back your new local content to the home base, or you can pull back to where you are what's missing once you make your final decisions.
Well, one of the concerns that many of us have when we start to move stuff up outside the facility is security. How do we make sure that our assets stay secure?
Well, of course, access to our remote private cloud is password protected, of course, and it's all it's SSL encrypted. So you've got that going for you. But because you're accessing our file system, you're falling under our new auditing feature that we've just added to the EFS file system. So this is a new announcement for us this year, where we can tell you who did what, when, to what files and directories in the file system. We can tell you exactly who's read a file, who has moved it, deleted it, renamed it. Very important today.
Without question important, but it's a perfect lead into the other new features that you've got. What else do you have new at the show?
Well, so, one of the biggest pieces of news for EditShare this year is that we have decoupled our Flow media asset management from our storage. So, we've been shipping Flow products for 8 years, and they've always been tied to our own storage. They work great with our storage, very smooth workflow as you access the content of the storage.
As we would expect.
But, not everybody has our storage. And a lot of people have other brands of storage. They've made an investment long ago. They don't have media asset management. And we figured, why not make it possible to use our MAM with that storage? So this is a big deal. And it's not only that we've opened it up to work with other storage, we've also come up with a pricing model that allows you to pay by the month, depending on what level of service you have. It may be under $20 a month per user, which is a really great price. But again, it depends on the features. But we want to make it possible to get into media asset management at a very low cost.
Well, media asset management is an incredible subject because it's so vital to being able to track down all of our assets. To get started with your asset management system, you said it was about $20 a month. How is that priced? How do you determine the starting point? What I'm saying is, what do I get for $20 versus $30 or $40 or $50?
Right. So, we have a very rich suite of tools in Flow. And so at the bottom tier, at the entry-level tier, it's our server, it's the database. It's no hardware. It's just software now. It's the database software, and it's our web-based access to Flow. It's what we call Airflow. And then as you move up, you have access to our timeline editor, our more sophisticated logging, our file ingest.
So what additional money gets us is not additional media asset management. It gets us additional tools as part of the edit suite.
Yeah, we've come up with what we think is a good set of starter tools, and it is going to meet the needs. For instance, you may just want to scan all your content and make it browsable remotely, and use Flow for review and approval with your executives or your clients. And that's a perfect way to start out with media asset management.
Is there specific software that you support in addition to yours, or is it anything that can be loaded to a Windows or Mac?
Not sure exactly what you mean there.
In other words, is it you have to certify Facilis, you have to certify that it's a particular piece of gear, or if it can simply attach to your computer, will you support it? Or to your stuff?
Right. So we can support any storage that can export a Windows networking volume, an SMB share. Plus, we have specific integrations with some other storage vendors who are using their own native file system drivers. But just about every storage can support SMB, so it's a pretty universal offering.
That's very cool. So we've got, what was the thing you talked about at the top? It had the letter Q in it.
It's QScan, right. So we acquired an automated QC company a year ago, and really this is its unveiling here at NAB. And we have three levels. We've got QScan 1, QScan Pro, and QScan Max.
And for people that want more information, where can they go on the web?
They can go to editshare.com.
That's all one word, edit, E-D-I-T, share, editshare.com. And Andy Liebman is the CEO and co-founder of EditShare. They make an incredible suite of products, and you need to make sure to check them out. That's editshare.com. Andy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Once again, at the 2018 NAB show, Maxon Cinema 4D is hosting presentations by the most respected 3D artists in visual effects, motion graphics, and design. This year, there will be 28 unique presentations from 20 different artists. You can see them all at Maxon's booth at NAB in the South Lower Hall, booth 5627. Or if you're not attending NAB, you can watch them on c4dlive.com. Even better, when you register on c4dlive.com, you'll be entered into a raffle to win from over $24,000 in prizes. Maxon Cinema 4D. Stop by Maxon's booth at NAB in South Lower 5627 or tune into the live stream at c4dlive.com. That's the letter C, the number 4, the letter D, live.com. That's Maxon. You've heard of their product, but you may not have heard of the company that makes the product. The product is Cat TV, but the company that makes Cat TV is Squarebox System, and Dave Clack is the CEO of Squarebox System. Dave, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Larry.
Before we start talking about Cat TV, tell us about why Squarebox System got started in the first place.
Oh, wow. So Cat TV is a real pioneer in the asset management industry. In fact, possibly the pioneer. And our founder, 15 years ago, had a young family, and he was a bit of a computer geek, so he had Macs, he had PCs, he had the first digital cameras, digital still cameras, and the first DV tape cameras. And he couldn't find his stuff. He couldn't find the shots of the kid with the dog. So he wrote, on the way to work, a shareware, file-based workflow tool. After having met a few people in the industry, they told him, maybe you have a bit more than a shareware tool going on, because this is coming to our industry anytime soon. So it was really born from our founder's needs to try and find his family content, and then it really has exploded now that the whole market has moved completely.
Well, tell me what Cat TV is doing. I don't want the new stuff. We're going to get to that second, but tell me what Cat TV has evolved into.
Right, so Cat TV is a media asset management and production asset management tool. It saves our customers time, stress, money in making compelling content. So we help people to find and reuse their content. We have collaborative tools to help teams to work better together. Really, search is one of the core things, and then real tight integration with the creative tools, Final Cut, Premiere, Avid, and others.
Well, there's a number of asset managers that are out there now, everything from the extreme high end for enterprises and smaller programs and you sort of sit in the middle between the two of them. But why should someone consider Cat TV? I mean, clearly we all want to save time. We all want to find our media, but why you and not Contemo or one of the other guys that are out there?
Right. So there's a number of reasons, right? So we are, number one, the safe choice. We have more than 1,500 enterprise deployments, tens of thousands of users with Cat TV. And that experience has given us a huge number of workflows that we can support and integrations that we work with, whether that's storage, archive, cameras, networking. Then we have a wider breadth of technologies, I think. And our automation engine, our Cat DV Worker, is a market leader too. It's probably the best proxy flipper in the business, which now that Telestream Episode is long gone, then that's kind of unusual. And our desktop client is able to play content natively and work remotely. So we have a huge range of options for deployment, from single systems right up to cloud and hybrid deployment. So massive flexibility, extreme cost effectiveness, certainly compared to some of the direct displacements we're doing at the moment. You know, it's a very powerful tool, very cost effective, and very flexible.
Now we've got a sense that it's expanded from a simple shareware program in his garage to where we are today. What are the new features you're announcing?
Yeah, well, I think, so AI is the thing that is going to transform the asset management industry in the coming years. So rather than having a meager set of metadata to work with that's either harvested from file and folder systems or camera data or entered manually, then we're going to have a huge volume of probably low-quality metadata to manage, and I think that will transform how people search, find, and interact with their content. So, yeah, we've been talking about and showing our latest Google AI integrations with CatDV. The text-to-speech, the place, person, sentiment, image, object identification that comes with some of that technology. And that's been driving a whole pile of really interesting conversations here. So that's number one. Number two...
Now, take a break. Why has it been driving interesting conversations?
Oh, right. So we're possibly the market leader in terms of sports content. And those organizations have a huge amount of back catalog. Quite often it's still analog, it might not be digitized yet, and they're not going to start their digitization programs unless they can unlock the value in that content, and metadata is the key to doing that. So being able to bring content in, get it into digital format, and then being able to get some insight into that content without having to hire an army of interns or loggers or fans to really get that content tagged so it can be then really monetized, used, reused, and all that.
Okay, so we were talking about the importance of AI and how you're rolling that into CatDV. What are the other pieces of new news for this year?
Yeah, so there is a lot, right? The pace of development in the firm is huge. So talk about a few of the integrations. Our Adobe panel now works in After Effects and Illustrator and Photoshop. We have integration with Telestream Vantage, Route 6 Content Agent, and Elemental. Aspera accelerated file transfers, both up and download. We have two-factor authentication and single sign-on with SAML 2. We're integrated with calibrated Tin Man Player for greater player support, essentially for P2, XD Cam, Sony Camera Raw, that kind of stuff. So a huge breadth of integrations. We're launching our Pegasus worker, our top-end worker. And Work is our automation engine, and it is now much more cloud-friendly. You can remotely manage workers from a single workstation, and you can load balance and farm workers as well. And then for sports, we've got a whole pile of sports optimizations born out of the experience of these 50, 60 professional sports organizations that we work with. So a pile of stuff.
That strikes me as so many different tools that it'd be almost impossible for one person to learn. How do you help somebody get started?
Well, that's a really good point. And in fact, when we have discussions with folks who come onto the booth, we spend a good 5 or 10 minutes before we do any showing of software just trying to find out what folks want. Workflow is crucial, and frankly, it's easy to deploy even good software badly. And so, finding out what people's real problems are, where's the pain, what is it they want to fix with an asset management deployment, is really vital. So, really, then focusing in on those small parts of the workflow that really are going to be valuable is pretty critical, both in terms of discussions here and in implementations in the real world.
What does it cost to get started with CatDV?
Well, we're kind of an unusual product because you can buy a copy of CatDV from our website, and it's like $800, and it's fully functional installed desktop client. For some of the biggest networks, though, that we work with, we have a news station over here with 20 CatDV systems all talking together and sharing media between the whole network. That solution is probably in the $400,000 or $500,000, and so we have pretty much every price point in between available. From that kind of $800 right up to $300,000-400,000.
But if somebody wants to start, they could get in for less than $1,000 and still have access to the majority of the features in the software, correct?
That's right, and then it's really easy to grow. So a small production team, you may want to get into a system around $10,000 to $30,000. But some of our biggest customers have grown from those kind of tiny acorns up to some stuff that is very sophisticated and massively automated.
For people who want more information, where can they go on the web?
Yeah, so our website, www.squarebox.com. Please come over and check out all the cool new stuff on the website.
Very cool. The website is all one word, Squarebox, SQUAREBOX, squarebox.com. The product is CatDV, and Dave Clack is the CEO of Squarebox. Dave, thanks for joining us today. Have yourself a great show.
You too. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks. Take care.
Cheers.
And we're back. Now we're talking to a different company, Kolbyte, and Bjorn Kolbeck is the co-founder and CEO of Kolbyte. Bjorn, welcome.
Hello, Larry.
How would you describe Kolbyte?
We're a software company that does storage.
That does storage?
Exactly.
Most people store stuff to hard disks. Why am I storing it in software?
So we take traditional servers that you can get from most vendors like Supermicro or Dell, with hard drives and flash in them, and then we provide the software to turn those servers into a reliable and scalable storage system.
Now, why are they not reliable before they use your software? What are you adding?
So a single server can break. I mean, hard drives break, flash drives can also break. The server can go offline because someone pulled the power or some other component broke. And so by distributing the data across the servers, we make sure that you can sustain those failures. So when disk drives break or when even the whole rack goes down, the storage is still accessible.
So basically, a RAID is a collection of hard disks that all act as a single storage, and you're putting a RAID of RAIDs together, RAID of servers together. So you have multiple servers with the data spread across multiple servers. Is that a good analogy?
It's a good analogy. The technology below that is different. It's not RAID anymore. It's using erasure coding and replication. But the concept is the same. So we spread the data across machines so that you can lose individual components but still have access to your data.
How big do you need to be to take advantage of your system? Are you a small work group or enterprise, or where?
So you can start with 4 servers.
4 servers.
That's the minimum. And then you can grow by adding drives and servers. And there's really no upper limit. So you can go from a small installation to hundreds of servers.
So a server could be as few as 4 drives or as many as 18, perhaps even more. So you're not looking at the number of drives inside the servers. You're looking at the server itself, the entity of the server.
Exactly. The number of drives then depends on the use case, whether you're looking at more archival, or if you look, for example, at high-speed storage for video rendering, then you might have a few flash drives in a server.
Well, a company that does something similar to this is Object Matrix. How do you differ from what they're doing?
So we're a file system. So we provide really file system interface for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So you can run applications directly on Kolbyte, like your video editing, color grading, video rendering, transcoding. So basically, all the applications in your workflow that run on local disk or NFS can directly work on Kolbyte.
So basically, when I'm looking at a Kolbyte server, I'm looking at an entity which is on the desktop of my Mac, but what's behind it is a massive amount of different servers and hard disks, but you're just masking those for me.
Yeah, your Mac has our client software and then directly talks to all the storage servers that you don't see, and they act as one big system. So when you add servers, you get more performance, you get more storage, and more reliability.
Now, am I seeing multiple servers on my desktop, or is it a single icon?
It's a single icon. You see really one file system.
So is this another flavor of object storage?
No, it's really file system.
I'm sorry?
It's really a distributed parallel file system.
So it's separate from object storage,
yeah,
and it's not quite a RAID of servers, but it's conceptually similar. And I need to have the driver on my Macintosh or on my Windows machine to support Linux as well?
Yeah.
Or my Linux machine in order to be able to access the files.
Exactly.
So what have you got for us that's new?
The reliability and the scalability. That's
my fault. What do you have? What are you announcing that's new at the show?
Okay, so we have just G8, our 2.0 release, which has features explicitly for media and entertainment.
How so?
One of the features is that we do automatic prefetching of files. So, for example, DPX files, where one frame is one file. We prefetch them so that you can do 4K raw playback over the network.
That's pretty amazing. What do you need in terms of hardware to support this? Because prefetching's got to get loaded into RAM.
So the machine that you do the playback on needs several gigabytes of RAM to do the caching. And then on the back end, you can actually work with hard drives. But you need servers that can sustain this bandwidth. So what we recommend is 24 hard drives in a server. You can get them, for example, from HPE or Supermicro. And with 3 of those servers, you can already sustain 3 4K raw streams.
3 4K workflows coming off one of your devices? One of your server-based
3
thingies.
servers, yes.
What do you call a Kolbyte? I mean, if you don't want to call it a RAID of servers, so do I just call it a Kolbyte? That refers to the entity?
Yeah, it's the Kolbyte file system.
A Kolbyte file, the QFS. A Quobyte file system. That's kind of neat.
System, yeah.
What is does the file system require a certain operating system to be installed?
It runs on Linux.
Linux, okay. So I'm going to need Linux servers in order to run Quobyte.
Yes, on the server side you need Linux servers.
And do we support a variety of different servers like QNAP or Synology, or do we need to work with something more specific?
No, it's really servers from usually Dell, Supermicro, HPE. So the standard servers that you find in a data center or in the rack in the IT room.
And then to install this, do I lose any data that's on the server, so I need to go to a clean server to put the file system on?
That's what we recommend, because the file storage, the servers, is disaggregated from the client where you use it. So usually you bring in the servers with fresh disks, put Quobyte on them, and then consume it on the client machines.
And you said that ideally for a 4K workflow, I'd need to have a 24 drive server, and I'd need at least 4 of them in order to run Quobyte. So I'm looking at 96 drives altogether. So we're talking a fairly large machine room and a fair amount of storage.
Yes.
What does it cost to get started?
So Quobyte itself is an annual subscription, and it depends on the media type that you put in, whether it's hard drive or flash. But if you want to start smaller, because you mentioned the 96 drives, you can also use, for example, flash. Then you have high performance and lower capacity. So we work with the customers to find a solution that fits their workload, and then our partners like resellers and VARs put together those solutions for them.
So do you sell exclusively through VARs? I'd need to go to a Keycode Media or somebody like that to be able to get the system, or can I buy it direct from you?
We go only through channel partners. They can especially help with sizing the system, looking at the workloads, analyze the requirements, and translate from media and entertainment workflows into storage requirements.
Very cool stuff. And tell me again, the new feature for this year was what?
It's our 2.0 release, which we just GA'd, and the feature for MND is the prefetching of
the
frames.
Prefetching for especially for DPX files.
Yeah.
Does prefetching work with other media files which are not still frame based?
So if it's a one large file, we also do prefetching. There it's easier, but if it's in small files, it's difficult because we need to know which files will be next.
I can understand that. For people that need more information, where can they go on the web?
To our website, quobyte.com, and we also have a free test license there that you can download if you want to get to know the system.
What was the tech site again?
Quobyte.com.
Quobyte.com. So the website is Quobyte, Quobyte.com, and Bjorn Kolbeck is the co-founder and CEO of Quobyte. Bjorn, when was Quobyte founded?
Approximately 4 years ago.
4 years ago. It's amazing what 4 years can do, isn't it? Seems like to last forever and be gone almost immediately. Bjorn, I wish you great success. Have yourself a great show. We'll be back with more after this.
Hi, this is Larry Jordan. Because you're listening to the Digital Production Buzz at NAB, I want to recommend that you join us for our weekly shows as well. At NAB, we present the latest technology and product news from leading exhibitors at the event. Our weekly show, though, covers a much wider range of subjects, all designed with the independent and corporate filmmaker in mind. Airing live every Thursday night and available anytime on iTunes, The Buzz presents in-depth interviews with people creating and using media technology to create films seen around the world. On The Buzz, you'll hear the latest industry news from James DeRuvo, the opinions of experts like Philip Hodgetts, Ned Soltz, Larry O'Connor, and Michael Kamas, and discussions with filmmakers around the world. The Buzz began in 2000 to enable media creators to improve their skills and keep up with the ever-changing world of media. For the last 18 years, we've continued that tradition. We invite you to join us every week on the Digital Production Buzz.
While it's interesting to talk about technology, sometimes it's even more interesting to figure out what all this technology means. And nobody explains technology better than our next guest. Maxim Jago is a futurist, a director, a filmmaker, a speaker that helps to understand all the strange stuff that we're seeing here at NAB and translate into words the rest of us can make sense of. Maxim, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let me tweak this
Make
here.
sure there we go.
Get your hands off the mic. So let's start at the beginning. You've been here now for 3 days. What have you seen that's caught your attention?
Well, what I'm seeing is a more ubiquitous access to amazing technology for acquisition and
cameras.
for distribution. Right, we're seeing just, oh my goodness, great cameras that are low cost. I'm seeing lightweight gimbals and steady rigs so you can get smooth shots. Automation, robotics. The cameras are now more and more able to shoot HDR. We're seeing great color depth. Overall, the technology to capture the content is getting better and better and better. 360 now, just as we expected. We're seeing 360 cameras that do in-camera hardware stitching, so we don't need to worry about the stitching. And we're also seeing this ubiquitous access to great distribution mediums. We're seeing interactivity, streaming platforms, ways that audiences can interact with the media creators and just directly distribute your content in high quality. But what I'm finding is that actually at this show, there's very little talk about how you learn to use the stuff. So I've been giving a lot of presentations, for example, about just things like color grading. And in fact, I ran a 2-day class over the weekend for video editors to learn a different editing system. So they use something else than they're learning Premiere Pro. And during the class, I need to test the class and say, so, okay, we all know what subclips are. I'm going to show you the button to make a subclip. And everybody in the room did that look that you do when you're in a foreign country and you don't understand the language. And, you do that sort of half smile, like, I think you're either selling me bread or you want me to marry you. I don't know which it is. And so what I'm discovering is that there's this knowledge gap. Now, I'm working on some education projects at the moment, and it's an interesting development now because historically when we produced education materials, it was for people that already had a certain baseline of knowledge. But what we're finding with this changing landscape, where people are gradually migrating from being an Instagram star, Snapchat, and they're moving into having a YouTube channel, and they're putting themselves on, they're building their brand, is there's a tipping point where they go from shooting on their phone to shooting on a DSLR to having a crew. And if you look at the development of the studio spaces that YouTube provide, the YouTube spaces, they are providing that technology and the crew sometimes to help you produce the content when you hit that level. But for the first time now, we're producing a lot of training materials for people that are at that very, very beginning stage. I shoot stuff on my phone, I want it to look good, and I have no idea what a video clip is.
I have the same experience. I teach at USC, and one of the things I've learned is stuff that I've taken for granted for 40 years is brand new to these kids.
Right.
And I realized that my role is to explain stuff that, if you don't tell them, how do you expect them to know it? And it's the same situation here when people are moving into this new technology. Just because we understand it doesn't mean that it's understood by everybody.
Right.
And it's easy to forget that.
Yes. And, that's the role of the teacher, right? That's the difference between teaching and demoing. And we have this great battle with marketing departments for companies where you get up on stage and you've got 10 minutes to show stuff. And they say they want the audience to learn something. But, you've got 10 minutes.
But it's got to be flashy.
It's got to be flashy.
And it's got to move fast.
Yeah. Oh, look, I pressed this button, it went woo, and it all looks great. So we constantly have this battle between marketing departments and training and education departments. So I'm very interested in the development of some of the AI technologies. These are facsimile AI. I think we've spoken before about true self-aware AI is not a thing yet, but we're beginning to see, Adobe are producing this Sensei technology, and we're also seeing some very interesting stuff from Intel and other companies where they're very, very quickly analyzing the visuals to extract information about what's on screen and use that to generate metadata, which makes the content searchable, but also makes the content more targetable. Because now we're beginning to marry this automatically generated analysis of the media with the automatically generated analysis of the audience and pairing them together. Now, it's a bit creepy and Orwellian, and there's a benign version of that where users have control of their data, and there's a creepy version of it where, you know,
users don't have control.
Users don't have control, and I think we're navigating those waters right now, as we've seen with the new developments with Facebook. But what I'm seeing here that's really exciting for me is just the quality. The cameras now that are shooting HDR.
For less than $5,000, you get quality that we would have paid $100,000 for and killed for 10 years ago.
Panasonic, you know, people have been shooting with their GH4 and GH5 cameras, and they kind of clocked that people really wanted them to shoot video. So they produced the new ones, the GH5S, which has 2 native ISOs. You can switch the sensor. And of course, as an indie, if you're working with a low-cost camera, you often can't afford proper lights. If you're not shooting outdoors, you do need to have more sensitivity for the camera. But this thing, it's a $2,000 body. It'll shoot 10-bit 422 color space color, 400 megabit all iframe.
Wow.
And it's $2,000. So,
but you have to look at the camera. You have to see the picture. Now, have you seen any monitors that are worth mentioning?
Well, I have. So Atomos will make a big announcement at the show where they've got a new version of their combined screen, which is, it's a beautiful calibrated screen with on-screen monitoring. You can do focus assist, you can do waveforms, vectorscopes, and it's a built-in recorder. And they've announced at the show that they're now able to record in this new ProRes RAW format, I suppose is the word I have to use.
The Ninja Inferno and the Samurai Inferno.
Right. This is phenomenal.
Nope, sorry. Sumo Inferno and Samurai. The Ninja is not.
I thought it was the new Ninja.
It's a firmware upgrade, and it's free.
Right.
But before you run out of time, you wanted to mention the monitor in the Sony booth.
I do. So, you know, every now and then you encounter a technology that just blows your mind. You know, the first time you see a really great drone shot, first time you see HDR, at the far end of the North Hall, so it's as far as you could ever walk at NAB, and I know because I've walked it a few times, Sony have their own room, they've got their own space. And if you go into that room, there's a bunch of staff cameras and whatever. If you go around the main bit at the front, behind that, they have a massive cinema screen, which is a screen, it's not a projection, it's a screen. It's full HDR, it's 8K, and it's
8K.
breathtaking. And it's 20 or 30 feet, maybe 40 feet. It's massive, and you stand in front of this thing, and it's better than human vision. It's retina at that resolution, at that scale, so your eyes can't see the pixels. It's HDR, and seriously, it's better than if you were standing in front of the person that's shown on screen. I cannot see you now as well as I would be able to see you on that screen.
Nobody wants to see me that well. All
That's
right, actors wear makeup for a reason.
Yeah,
you know.
If only we could get away with it. I always ask the camera operator for the Brad Pitt filter. It never works.
Maxim, where can people go on the web to learn more about the stuff you're writing and thinking about?
Really easy. I have an unusual. I'm a Google whack. Maxim Jago, Maxim Jago. MaximJago.com. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm around the place.
What he said, Maxim Jago, Maximjago, Maxim Jago, and Maxim, it's always a delight chatting with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Take care. We've got another show coming up in just about 15 minutes, and I want to have you stay with us for that. We're going to be talking with the people from Sound Devices. They make audio recorders. Frame.io has totally rewritten their software. M-Logic has got a great new LTO drive, and Roscoe Labs is always worth talking to. So be sure to join us in about 15 minutes. We're going to be continuing our coverage of NAB throughout the entire NAB show. Our next show is at 3. We've got shows at 3, 4, and 5. And then we've got 5 shows tomorrow that you want to take a listen to. This is the Digital Production Buzz at the 2018 NAB show.
The NAB show BuZZ is copyright 2018 by Thalo LLC. The digital production BuZZ at NAB is sponsored by Maxon,